G'day folks, welcome back to the channel for episode number 11 of our Cold Trozan's Spellbreaker. I've been a little bit busy between episodes, and the reason why is this here, Slay Commander Lucius, also Fort Icon. Fort Icon is up here, and the dungeon under Fort Icon is absolutely packed with ethereals, which means it's absolutely packed with aether damage. And our aether resistance is absolutely horrible. So we need to fix that. And in the course of attempting to fix this, I figured, well, this relic is rubbish, and we do have the Juggernaut blueprint, so maybe we'll go get Juggernaut. There is a few issues with that, though. The first one is the Mistborn Talisman blueprint. Now, if you're much higher level than 40 or so, the guy who drops this will actually stop scaling, and then he just won't drop it, and you'll have to go to Elite and get it there, which will effectively lock you out of Juggernaut. It'll lock you out of Haunt, and a few other relics as well, because you need this blueprint to make a lot of them. So I went and got this, and well, let's just show you what happened, shall we? Cue the montage. Finally. And for anybody wondering, that was 37 minutes until I cut it up for that montage. 37 minutes of logging in, coming to this merchant just here, to Isaiah Redden, and talk to him. I would buy his 2 potions, I would do a search for rare, and just check out the rare jewelry. Then I would come down here to the Smuggler's Path, run through, try not to kill anything, do the totem if it was there, then kill Voldrak. He didn't drop it. Log out, log in, do it all again. So I did eventually get it, and so now we have the Mistborn Talisman Relic Blueprint, which is a mouthful to say. And that just leaves us with one issue to make the Juggernaut Relic, and that is, so we can make the Mistborn Talisman, but the Oleron's Blood requires Respected with the Black Legion, so it's right here. We don't have enough reputation, we don't have the ability to do bounties for them. Basically, we have to go do these in order to get the reputation to buy that recipe. So Juggernaut's off the table for now. However, we can fix the rest of our resistances, and the way we're going to do that is when I was farming the Mistborn Talisman, these dropped. So that gives me the ability to take... Okay, quick explanation. All of our bleeding resist, and I mean every single point of it, comes from this silk swatch, this wardstone, and this wardstone. There is no other bleeding resist on this character. So when these dropped, that's 24%. That means we can swap out. So we swap these plants out. Our bleeding resist is now capped. So now we can swap out our amulet for something with aether resist on it, which I happen to have here. So this one also has bleeding resist on it, so we can swap that one in. Bleeding resist still capped, and now we've got a bit more aether resistance. The other thing I was looking at doing is going to require a trip to Devil's Crossing. I'm going to take the antivenom salve out of my helmet. Okay, I'm going to keep the item. That did unfortunately uncap poison and acid, but for now I don't care. This runestone here gives us aether resistance and extra damage to ethereals, and we're about to fight a whole swag of them. So I want aether resist is the long and short of this. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and uncap this bleeding resistance that we just spent so long, or so much effort getting back up, because I need Aether resistance. So that's what I did in terms of changing things. I did also find this metal, which would give me +2 to Trozans, and some other junk I don't really care about. But it's really hard to justify using a metal slot for +2 to one skill and like a little bit of physique. That's basically it. It would, however, increase our damage, and we are going to start finding gear with +2 Trozan Sky Shard on it. So that will go up soon. The other thing I wanted to do this episode is, in lieu of Juggernaut, because we can't get it just yet, I want to look into getting the Glacier Relic, and one place you can get that is the Skeleton Key Dungeon Steps of Torment, and the merchant who sells the Glacier Relic blueprint also happens to sell Spectral Bludgeons. So if you have been unlucky to this point in getting a Spectral Bludgeon, this is how you can go and guarantee get one, hopefully get a good one. So this is a bit of a run. I'm going to hopefully remember to edit this section and speed it up. Okay, and you know me, I can't resist a good totem, so let's do this. The one downside, of course, is this guy here is immune to cold. Not immune to elemental, but immune to cold. So we have to get close to him for the aura to shred his resistance, and the procs will do the rest. Glyphs of the Ravenous Wendigo. Lovely. Movement skill. Let's just check the rare affixes on all of this. I'm probably leaving a bunch of really good stuff on the floor by doing this. But if it doesn't have a rare affix that I want, I don't care. So let's just duck into the tower here, grab this hidden spoils, moan again about them never dropping anything good, and now we will head around the bottom here and into the Steps of Torment. Now, I typically don't do the Steps of Torment on normal difficulty, generally at all, but I think this time it's worth it. Just because the merchant in there will sell us a bunch of blueprints and also will sell us a new weapon. So this is a treacherous domain, which means the monsters get buffs, you get debuffs, and it's just generally a little bit more difficult. However, this one doesn't really matter. The monsters slow down, and they are a little bit reduced to reduce reduction on freeze. Not really a huge deal. They move slower all the time, and the freeze on them lasts 5% less. So, really not a big deal. Coming into the Steps of Torment, you are going to want to check for treasure trove. There is a treasure trove in the Steps of Torment. It's just a matter of finding it. There also will be a totem. Again, you just have to find it. There may be 2 totems, actually. I can't remember exactly. You can fight this or not. It is entirely up to you. Everything in here will scale up to, I think, level 75. Most of normal scales that high. But regardless, this will absolutely scale to level 50 at least. So we just go through here. Again, I'm checking for the treasure trove spawn. If you're not sure where they are, I highly, highly recommend having the Grim Tools map open when you do this, just to get the extra loot. Also, definitely recommend making sure your resistances are capped before you come in here. In addition to all of the goodies I was just talking about, there is also an Exalted chest in here. And again, it's just a matter of finding it. The other thing as well is there's a ton of ghosts. So you may just get a new weapon to drop in here before you even get to the merchant. Which would be good, because farming the merchant is going to take a long time. There's also a devotion shrine in here, which I'm going to go get. It is down here to the left. Is this a trap? Not today. That's fine. Elemental Storm level up, which is pretty nice. Let's go ahead and trigger this. We may as well fight everything all at once. You can see this guy over here. Okay, and is that it? Nope. Still got the big guy. I think we got it, and I just didn't notice. Either that, or there's something under the ground that's waiting for me to come near it. Nope. Just didn't kill everything. Okay. Frostborn is going to give you that Ice Spike proc. That's actually decent as far as weapons go. Not amazing, and we're not going to use it, but it is decent. Glacial Shield, again, decent, but not amazing. Alright, so what were we doing for devotions? I think we were down here, weren't we? Looks like we have everything. Okay, so I do want Murmur, which means I need some reds. So it looks like all of the other devotions I have are finished, but I do need red. Now, the easiest red is Jackal. Jackal's good for everyone. Bit of energy, health to pets, who cares? This node here, total speed, is really good for every class in the game, even if you only use it for the move speed. And Fizz Resist is always good. So the Jackal would be the fast way to get the reds I need. You could also look into... No, that's pretty much it, honestly. For a cold character, it's pretty much a Jackal. So we'll start moving towards the Jackal. I'll put the 3 in here, I'll take my 1 red back, and then we'll start working on Murmur. With that said, there's a couple of places in here that may have a chest that I want. So we'll just go have a look there. There's also, I think... Nope, it's not this level. On one of the levels there's this huge hidden complex in the bottom left corner, which is kind of cool. One other thing I will point out is that the Steps of Torment have like 5 or 6 levels, and we need to get all the way to the bottom level. Here's the treasure trove. We also will not be fighting the last boss, because Alchemos is a cold-related boss. He's 50% cold resistance, and he just does a ton of damage, so we're not fighting Alchemos. The other thing to note is that I just leveled up to 43, and I've been saving my level up points for when I've been recording, so let's go ahead and get that underway. I'm going to put some points in Cunning, because Cunning gives us basically offensive ability, so let me undo that. Offensive ability lets us crit, we want to be able to crit. Spirit does not give us offensive ability. So we do want some spirit, but Cunning is going to give us offensive ability. So actually, let's do spirit for a little bit. Probably want 20 points or so in spirit. And as far as our skill points go, I think we are going to 1, 2, 3, put 6 in here. So we are working towards Star Pact, and we will get there eventually. Alright, so first thing we need to do is we need to slay Grand Priest Zarthuzalan. Words are particularly hard today. So with Zarthuzalan, he does do elemental damage, so do remember that you can die horribly, actually. Do remember that you can nullify him. It will remove any buffs he has, and it will also reduce his elemental damage, which is definitely something you want to do. And do stay at range, because he does have that fire wave attack that will mess you up. Fortunately, he wants to stay at range as well, so we can just keep moving and throwing meteors at him. Eventually, he'll go down. I was trying to dodge those, I don't think I managed it. Let's not stand in the fire. Alright, so after the lightning bolt, he will put fire underneath where you are standing. And there he goes. Okay, Arcanist of Scorching, if we were doing fire damage, that would probably be not too bad. Right, Calderos here. When you speak to him, he will give you the recipe for making skeleton keys, which you will need to open this door. He will also give you one skeleton key. So now we can open this. Before you do that, however, I highly recommend going back to town, which will require you to run back out here. I'm not sure if you can... Well, let's just try it on the bridge. Yeah, okay, so you should be able to port out on the bridge. If you're near that door, it sometimes gets a little bit... Won't let you port out because you're near a skeleton key dungeon. So as I was saying, I do highly recommend you go back to town. Always buy these potions whenever you're here. And empty your inventory because you're about to do a complete skeleton key dungeon with the exception of the boss. Although if you're on softcore, by all means, give it a shot. So empty your inventory, or at least, you know, close enough to. I was going to swap those as well. So we go back to Misery. And when it eventually loads, there we go. Unfortunately, no new weapon. So we're in here for a new weapon, we're in here for a new relic, and probably both of those are going to require us to go to the bottom, which I think is the 3rd floor down. So let's get into it. The other thing I am going to do is I am going to open up the map because I am not 100% sure exactly where everything is. Okay, so the actual skeleton key dungeon has 2 floors. This is the first one. There's a few things to note on this floor. One is there's tons of ghosts, there's tons of skeletons, undead in general. Lots of them. The other thing is just here, which is the, what is it, the Well of Souls or something like that. There is an achievement for surviving this. If you go in here, you'll see this swirly, ghostly blue thing here. There is a chest here. It is a very nice chest. And when you go near it, it will spawn 3, 4, 5 waves of monsters. There are a lot of elites in those monsters. It is definitely worth it to kill them. These don't have elemental resist, so that's fine. And you know what, I'll give up that elemental seal. Okay, let's go ahead and do it. I'm going to turn the loot off. We do have one of these skeleton knights who don't seem to care about cold damage. This particular ghost is like the only ghost in the game who doesn't care about, or doesn't have a chance to drop a weapon for us, which is unfortunate. This guy here is actually immune to cold normally. If we weren't shredding his resistances, he would just take no damage. Okay, victory. So we open the Bone Reliquary, turn the loot back on so we can actually see what dropped, and we got an empowered blue item and a bunch of greens. I'll pick these up, why not? Let's get some bits. Not sure why I'm trying to click on them. If you don't have pickup item bound to a key button by now, definitely look into doing it. Spectral longsword, we're going to hang on to one of those longswords. If you are farming for relics or anything like that, you definitely want to hang on to at least one of those longswords. And while you are fighting Aldrak to get his Mistborn Talisman blueprint, you definitely want to keep one of the Trollberg crushes that are going to drop while you're doing it, because you will need one to craft the relic. So just through here is a fun little item. Anytime you see this statue with 2 shields, there will be an item nearby that will drop you a weapon that looks like a shield, which is always fun. We want to go back for him, don't we? Oh, we already killed him. Cool. So doing this dungeon without the fear of Nemesis is a little bit strange for me, I must admit. But it does make it a little safer, a little easier, a little less worrisome. Okay, on this floor, it does not appear to have a totem. Nope, I spoke too soon. There it is. Okay, Spectral Longsword again. Can't hurt, I guess. These champions and nobles, and this guy probably as well, are the guys who we want to be killing, because they can drop us a new weapon. Can doesn't mean will. Alright, let's head up this way and do this totem. There's also just here, don't go in here just yet. So depending on how safe you want to be, you either go in this side once you've cleared here and pull the boss this way and hope there's no priests on the other side, or you go back down here, through here, up here, and clear this side and then go in. We're going to do this totem real quick. Do remember, if you're going to be face tanking things, you definitely want to be using the mirror. You can use that offensively as well as defensively, and I find it actually works better using it offensively. Okay. We'll pick these up, none of them are any good though. Now, like I said, this looks like a shield, but if you read it, it is a one-handed mace, and it is not any good for this build. Also change that to the first tab so we can stop filling up our save items section with rubbish. Okay, so Igor the Eternal is the name of this boss, and he's going to pop out of the ground right here. Now his first phase will seem pretty easy, it's a bit of a laugh really, and then you kill him, and make sure you get healed up, make sure you kill everything around you, because, yep, he's back. Okay, we go over here. Now, he will most likely put you in a cage so you can't move. The other thing you want to do is, if you can, keep him on the low ground, even if that means you have to face tank him, because those spines he does, they will actually hit the stairs if he's on the low ground. So you want to keep him on the low ground as much as you can. And there he goes. Yeah, he did drop his MI, which actually is decent. No bleed res on it, unfortunately, but +3 to Shadow Dance is something I want. Making the Pneumatic Burst buff last for 2 minutes instead of like 20 seconds is pretty good. More healing on Pneumatic Burst and a bit of cold damage. So this is actually a pretty good MI. And we may actually use that. I'm going to hang on to it and probably never use it again. Right, so on this floor we have already done the Well of Souls, we have already done Igor, we have already done the Totem. That's it. So now we get to the exit, which I've just noticed is blocked on this side by a rock. So let's go over this way. Oops, wrong button there. Good way to waste the mirror. Now, you don't have to fight these. The door is right there, you can just leave. But, you know, I like loot. Okay, next floor, Anguish. On Anguish there is potentially And this is something I did not want to see. This is usually here, so don't be surprised if you get this. This not being here would allow us to run up to like here, which is where the merchant is, or maybe a little further. He's 2 rooms in, basically. This being here means we now have to run all the way around, which is not the end of the world, but it is kind of sucky. So, clear all this out. You don't have to clear all this out, obviously. You can skip most of this, really. They have added in more of these as well. I think this probably happened on the previous level and I just didn't mention it. Usually on normal, I don't check them. Or sorry, on ultimate, I don't check them because the characters, by the time they get to that, are incredibly powerful and just don't care. So they have more health. I do more damage, but less defensive ability, which is not amazing. But then I also do less damage and have more armor. So, all in all, not massive differences. So I guess I'll take it. This way being open is the second best option, because it does save you from having to go the entire long way around. If you have the map open, you'll see what I mean. This is kind of a cut across the top of the map. Sort of top middle, I guess. Whereas if this was not open, I would have to go the entire way around the bottom. Though I am going to go around there anyway. But this does get us to where we needed to go. So the entire reason we came into this dungeon in the first place is just in this room here. Just give me one moment to clear all this rubbish out. The current tenants are a bit of a pain. Alright, I think that's everybody. So, Marikar, or Maris Kaz, or however you want to pronounce it. This is the guy we were here for. Now, he is a merchant. He will sell you one random recipe, and also, you can check out the weapons. Now, I'm looking at the rare affixes, and I'm looking for a damage proc. The rest of this, I'll be honest, I don't really care. Wraithbound there giving 5% Fizz Res is nice. However, I really want a damage proc on the weapon. The current weapon we have is level 24, and that Elemental Seal proc is starting to do very little in terms of damage. I did actually want to buy that. So now for the fun part, which I'm not going to make you sit through. You basically run all the way back to the previous floor. You go back to floor 5. Misery, was it? Suffering. It's suffering. And then you wait in there, you count to 10. And then you come back and you talk to him and his inventory will have refreshed. So I'm going to show you this once. Then I'm going to cut the video. And at that point, I'm going to run back and forth until I find a weapon that I like. What weapon you like is going to be entirely up to you, what you're happy with. Realistically, one rare is going to be fine. Don't wait for a double rare, you will be here forever. So just find a Spectral Bludgeon with some sort of damage proc and call it done. So, as I said, I will show you one time what I mean, and then I'm going to cut it and come back probably in half an hour or so. You definitely don't have to do this if you don't want to. You can continue on with the weapon you have. Just using it as a stat stick will be fine. Realistically, the frostburn damage, the percent lightning damage conversion, plus 1 second total extras, the skills, all of that is going to stay the same. The only thing that's going to change is the damage on a proc will get bigger, and maybe you'll get some better stats. That's it. So if you have something like I do, and you don't want to farm this, just skip this whole section. But I definitely want to. And this is good to show, I think, for anyone who maybe didn't find a weapon like I did. early on. Also keep in mind, if you're doing this, you probably only have the one key from the quest. You are most likely not going to have a huge pile of Bloods of Chthon to make more of them. Alright, Chilled of Decay, Superior of Alacrity, Chilled of the Void. Okay, I don't like any of those, so I'm going to go and reset this a few times. So I will see you back here when that is done. Okay, I'm about halfway through, I would guess, but after 5 resets, I found this. Now, obviously, I can't afford to buy this, there's no way I can get this, but this is ridiculous. So, Storm Charge there on the prefix is giving that Chain Lightning, and also lightning damage, and also percent cold and percent lightning damage, and the physical converted to lightning damage, and the casting speed. And then the Fallen Skies is the +2 to Trozan Sky Shard, more cold damage, blah blah blah. This would be really, really, really good as far as a weapon goes. Unfortunately, as I said, that is hilariously expensive. 175,000, and I have 69,000, which, you know, it's nice, but it's not enough. So unfortunately, as much as I would love to have that weapon, it's not happening. Anyway, back to resetting. And then I know I said the triple rares were super rare and you shouldn't expect them, but this is like 2 or 3 resets later and I've got another one. Again, can't afford it, and this one I don't really want, but it is a triple rare. So anyway, back to rolling. And 2 resets later, we've got this one, which again, if I had the bits for it, I would definitely buy. Okay, and we're back. So it's been a little while. I've been doing this for probably an hour. I've had to take breaks and such throughout the day, so it's fairly late in the day now, but let's say an hour. And I bought a whole bunch of blueprints. I have the Glacier blueprint, and I noticed that in the course of buying these blueprints, they're 15,000 bits each, and my previous 90, I think, thousand bits dwindled very rapidly down to about 7,000 or something like that. So I went and farmed a few totems, got some gold, or some bits, and I am extremely glad that I did, because I've just found this. Now this is way beyond what you need, okay? This is pretty much the perfect double or triple rare roll. This is as good as it's going to get. I will probably be using this until I hit level 100. So I'm buying that right now. That's my weapon in 2 more levels. But you could use something like this. I found multiple chilled of... what was the... Chilled of Frostbite. There you go. There's the Frostbite suffix. And I found multiple of those during this, and they're like 30, 40,000 bits. I could absolutely have settled for one of those, and I was at the point where, like I said, I've been doing this for an hour, so I've reset it maybe 30 times altogether. I was at the point where I was ready to settle for a Chilled of Frostbite. Like, the next one that came along, I was just going to buy it, or you know, Incanters, which has the Panetti's Replicating Missile as a proc, or any kind of cold or even elemental damage proc. I was ready to settle for that, so I am both incredibly happy and also incredibly shocked that I found this. So, with that said, we're done here. Now, like I said, if you're playing softcore, you can come around here and go in and fight the boss. Being as this is hardcore, I'm not doing that. I choose life. So I'm just going to leave, and I'll see you back at Fort Icon. Right, and we're back at Fort Icon, and we can finally go and do the thing we were going to do at the start of this episode, which is the Fort Icon dungeon. So just before we head in, I did indeed craft the Glacier Relic, and I chucked on this ring that I found while I was doing the totems to get the money in order to buy this weapon. So, let's go kill ourselves a giant mutated tank man. So heading into Fort Icon, the main thing you want to be thinking about is Aether resistance, and how you're going to kill a guy with a massive pile of meteors that he's going to hurl at you that do huge amounts of Aether damage. The rest of the fort is also heavy on Aether damage. My answer is 71% Aether resistance, which is going to become maxed Aether resistance when I chug this potion, and then we're going to kill him before he can do really much of anything. I will probably... I was just thinking I'll probably let him launch one set of meteors just so I can show them. But thinking about that, it's probably not the best idea to let him do it. We'll see. I might do it. We'll see if I can actually kill him before he would do it. Then maybe. Alright, so you go down the right side, you grab the Legion supplies, you grab the dynamite that's always there, and then you sort of do an S shape, basically, to get to the boss. So he was unstoppable right up until we stopped him. Gauntlets of Destruction. I am kind of looking for a new pair of gauntlets. These ones have a little bit of Aether res. I would like to have more, and of all the items I'm wearing, the glove proc is the one I care about the least because it's lightning, and we do shred lightning resistance, but I'm focusing on cold for the moment, so losing the lightning proc is better than losing a cold proc. So these cold ones here, if we're standing next to them, we can hurt them. If we're not standing next to them, we can't, because they are immune to cold by default, and so we have to shred their resistances via this shield's bonuses to Veil of Shadow and OFF. Specifically Veil of Shadow, we have to shred their resistances to even apply Electra's Flash Freeze to reduce them even more. But it still amazes me how effective just hitting something with the mace is. Okay, so this guy spawned inside Lucius's room. Let's go in. Now, I am going to chug my Aether Resist potion. That brings me to max. And I believe that's all we need for this guy. So, let's see how fast we can kill him. So there's his flamethrower. You know what? I don't think I can... Yep. Killed him by accident before the meteors went off. Well, someone was asking on a previous video how this does against bosses, and I guess that's your answer, at least for normal. I tried to not kill him at the end there, and he died by accident. So, what was that, 2 or 3 Trozan Sky Shards and some left clicks? I admit I wasn't counting. Regardless, Lucius is dead. And it is now time to blow the barricade and continue onwards. These cold ones have got to go. So that guy was a Hoarfrost Dreadguard, I think it was, which means he had decent cold resist as well. Boots, no good. We're keeping the old boots. All of the rest of this is rubbish. Or at least no good for our build. This chest piece is interesting. So we're not using the skills on the Devil's Cuirass, and this has more armor, actually by a decent amount because it has 7% increased armor as well, and slightly increased resistances in terms of, well, 2% more pierce and 1% less chaos. The more pierce is irrelevant, and the slightly reduced chaos is kind of bad. But that 7% increase armor would apply to every slot, so honestly it's probably worth it for 2% chaos res. I think I'm going to swap it over. Actually, I know I'm going to swap it over, so I'm just going to go do that. And I do want my scaled hide because armor is still relevant at this point. So we will keep that, put that on there. And now we get a new look. It might be worth, once you get to whatever the next one of these is, whatever the next level is, I think it's 55, it might be worth farming one of these, but for now. Alright, I'm going to cut the episode here, so thank you all for watching. Sorry about the farming in the middle, hopefully someone will get something useful out of it, but I will see you in the next one, and goodbye for now.